Okay, this is the second shir on the halachas of Yom Kippur. So we're in the middle of Siman Kuf Lam and Aleph. We're up to Sif Dalid. So we're going to go through a very quick pace because we're going to try to do is finish Siman Kuf Lam and Aleph, and then maybe even Siman Kuf Lam and Beis, and maybe even Siman Kuf Lam and Gimel. We'll try to do as much as we can. I doubt we'll finish everything, but we'll try to get to as much as we can. So this way we can go to Yom Kippur more prepared. So we're going to go through it very quickly. Siv Dalet. When a person has avedas that they do interpersonal, which means that it's something that unfortunately they did to someone else, not between them and the Eibishter. So them and the Eibishter would be not davening. Them and a person would be stealing chas v'shalom or lying about someone, hurting someone's feelings, etc. Those types of things. So the halacha is ein Yom Kippurim mechaper ad sheyirat says chaveda. It's not going to help. Yom Kippur doesn't help you until you make amends with that person. Yeah, Shenamar, because it says in the Eibishter, it says in the Torah, Mikol Chatoisechem, from all of your avedas, Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, Titaru, you will be purified. Meaning, Kalaymar, Chatoisechem Shehem Lifnei Hashem Bilvad. Which avedas is Yom Kippur going to help you for? The ones that were only to Hashem. Then Yom Kippurim Mechaper, then Yom Kippur will get you forgiveness. But what you did to someone else, it's not going to help you until you make amends with them. And therefore, every person needs to search within themselves. If let's say someone, God forbid, has money that doesn't belong to them, you should return it to the person who you took it from. And you also have to make them feel good, meaning you have to apologize. You have to do the process of what we'll call tshuva. Now, it happens to be, what I saw some poskim say, that if the other person doesn't even know that you ever took the money, so they're not aware of it. So in that case, it looks like you return it in a way that they get it back, but they don't necessarily, you don't have to apologize to them and then go through the whole thing and then say, by the way, I stole money from you, and then they'll get offended. So in that case, if they didn't know about it from the beginning to the end, so you could return it, and that could be it. 1 second. Okay, yeah.
You spoke to Lashon about something once.
Oh, we'll get to speaking Lashon in a second.
Let's say when you apologize to someone that brings back up the fight. Let's say they forgot about the fight. And it's like right where you
Good question. Yeah, so the person can say like this. Yeah, when you want to apologize to someone, you have to be smart about it. And if you know that you're going to offend the person and they're going to get more angry, then it might not be the right thing to do. So you have to figure it out. And let's talk about it soon. We're going to come to it soon. Yeah.
Everybody says or should say before so why do you need to ask everybody for forgiveness? So they're literally forgiving everybody for everything.
Good, very good question. So there's a few things. When you daven, you praise Hashem. Yeah, why are you praising Hashem? Hashem doesn't need your praises. Not always is it for Hashem. Sometimes it's for you. Sometimes you need to create a certain trait of asking for forgiveness for yourself. So you may be forgiven, but you didn't achieve forgiveness. That means you have a pkam within yourself. You need to cleanse your pkam. And the only way to do that is by the other person, by going through the process of number one, apologizing, recognizing you did something wrong, and that you won't do it again. There's a certain process that you need to go to become clean, to become to do tshuva. Okay, but let's see. We're going to go through a little bit further. You'll see a little bit more as we go along. Okay, now let's say a person has money and he's not sure how he got to it. Maybe it's his apidin and it was rightfully his. He got it in the business deal, whatever it was. Or maybe it was a little bit of a dishonest method of achieving it, or he's not sure. So what you should do is like this. You should tell this person that as soon as Yom is over, I want to go to din with you. A din that's based on the Torah, obviously. And you'll take upon yourself that you're going to follow whatever Bestin says. So in other words, Bestin is not a bad thing. Bestin could be a very good thing. If you want to figure out how something belongs to someone, you want to know Pasha what the halacha is. You don't know. You have it, you're just not sure if it's rightfully yours. So you want to go to a Rav, someone that's a part of a Bestin that knows halachas of dinei mamanis. You want to be able to figure out if it belongs to you or not. There's nothing wrong with that. So therefore you say, look, I can't figure it out. I have it. I'm not sure if it belongs to you or not. So let's go after Yom Tif. We'll take care of it. Now it's too busy. So obviously that is something that you could do. Now, back to what you were saying. Let's say the person did not offend his friend with in financial ways or hurting them physically. Rather, it was with words, right? So it could be lashon hara, it could be something along those ways. So then, tzarich lefaisa, you have to go and you have to appease him also. In this case as well. And by the way, this could even be if, let's say, the person is offended for no reason. So you know that you really didn't do anything wrong. You said nothing wrong. You didn't have bad intentions, etc. But for some reason, this person's offended at you, either because you said something or not even. You just know that they're angry at you. That's included as well. You really should go. At least it's a minig chassidim nishayim. I don't know if it's mamash al pi halacha that you have to, but it's before your kippur, it's a very important thing to be able to do that as well. Okay, now, so how do you do this? So you have to go yourself, meaning in person, and you have to be able to ask him for forgiveness. You have to go with 3 people together with you. They bring from the Alter Rebbe here. To do it in front of a quorum of 3 people. Let's say that you come to the guy and you ask him for forgiveness the first time, and he says he's still angry, he's not ready to forgive you. So the halach is you have to go a second time. Now, by the way, when we were kids, what would you say? Do you forgive me? No. Do you forgive me? No. Do you forgive me? No. Well, now it's on you, right? Or something like this. You can't do that, obviously. You can't go back within 2 minutes and say the same thing in the same method and expect the guy to forgive you. That's not how it works. You go once, you ask for forgiveness. It doesn't work, you go away. You come back later and you have a different method. You say something different or you do something different. You can't do the same thing and expect something to come different. So you have to go a second time. And also a third time. And here he explains, every time you go, you have to try to do something else. Now, but it's only 3 times. Now, it happens to be that if you want and you're up to it, you could even go more than 3 times. It's not a limit of 3 times. Halachically, it's only 3. And if the guy doesn't want to forgive you after that, okay, you did what you could. But the best way to do it is, if you're up for it, to go more and to try as much as you can. The only condition is it can't be like that an embarrassment for the Torah. So in other words, if it's going to end up being that it's going to become a big chil Hashem, so then already it's another story. Okay, but usually it's not going to be to that degree. And hopefully they'll forgive you. But if not, you go 3 times, you have to try different ways, sincerely, obviously. Now, let's say it was a teacher, chas v'shalom. So then there's no limit to how many times you have to go. You have to go multiple times until he will forgive you. Okay, so now we're starting to see a little bit of how this is going to work with getting forgiveness. Now, let's say it's very difficult for the person to do this. It could be for many, many reasons, circumstances. Maybe the person's very far away right now, or whatever it is. Or maybe or he knows the guy can't stand me. If I go near him, he's going to get more angry, and he's never going to forgive me, and it's going to be worse. They're just going to make him more angry. So, and it's true. Sometimes, unfortunately, the way the Eibishter made people is that we have small emotions. We have midos, and not always are we in control of our midos. And it could be someone Pashut can't stand someone else, and you know that if you go there, it's not going to be good. So the halacha is you still have to get forgiveness. So you can ask someone else that they should go instead of you, and to ask forgiveness. That's an appropriate way of doing this as well, if that's the only option. Now, so again, you have to be smart. Like someone's, if we know in Pirkei Avos it says that you can't go to someone while he's still angry and try to ask him for forgiveness, right? So similar types of things, you have to use a cheshbon of how you're going to do this in a way that that it's going to be successful and not bring more anger and more whatever. Now, this is all about the person so far who's doing it. Now, what about the V'ish Hashem mevakshim mimenu mechila? What about the other person, the one who's being asked to forgive? Yimcha b'leiv shalim. He should really forgive with a full heart. And they add from the Alter Rebbe the word miyad right away. In other words, you're not going to gain anything by saying no, I don't want to do it. Come back to me next week or whatever. Like, what's the point? If it's the right thing to do it right away. Except if he has in mind that he wants to help the person. So let's say, for example, you tell a kid, you have a child and you say, go apologize to your sister because you by mistake punched him in the face. So exactly. They go and they say sorry, and they say, right, so it's not authentic, it's not real, no one's going to mean it. So now that's not why kids do it. But in theory, if the other child would say, no, I don't forgive you, and the reason why they did it is because they want this kid to go away and think about it. They didn't forgive me. This is not good. I'm going to Yom Kippur and someone's not forgiving me. So therefore, they should attempt to the person who's, so if their intention is to help the person who's requesting forgiveness, that's okay, because that means that they're going through a process of cleansing. And why would they do this? Because they want to sort of bring out the heart of this person who's farshtuk, who's covered over. Yeah, this guy's full of gaiva. He goes, "You forgive me?" When you ever see somewhere where they say, "Anyone, if I did anyone to anything, forgive me," right? That's not real, because you're not doing anything that actually is meaningful to a person who you may have offended. And who's agreeing that you're forgiving? The person who you didn't offend says, yes, I forgive you, yashakayach, right? So you have to go to the person who you actually offended. And now if it's not real, then the person can say, it doesn't, I'm not, this is not real, like we're not doing it. I'm not feeling this is a real thing. Come back to me when you're ready to really apologize. So if that's the case, if it's done from the right way, so then maybe that could be done, that you could delay the forgiveness. Or the person is worried that if he forgives him, something bad will happen. So in other words, let's say, for example, the person is a bulvan, he's a, some sort of town bully, and he knows that if he forgives him, he's going to use it against him, and he's going to, I don't know, whatever the cheshbonos are. I don't know how this can work, but it's a possibility. When people, used to have harder lives, they used to live a little bit more intense. Possible. So then again, you don't have to forgive until you know that you're safe. However, the person who's being asked for forgiveness should not be like an action. They shouldn't be like someone who's not backing down. Because that's not a Yiddish trait. That's a trait from Esav. What does it say about Esav? It says Evrasei means his anger, his fury. His anger he guarded forever. That means he never let it go. You have to learn how to let things go. Like you mentioned that you say to Bnei Shalom every night by Kriya Shema. It's a process that you have to go through. It doesn't mean that the other person is scot-free. It means that you need to let go of things so that you could be healthier. You could be more in touch with your neshama and the Eibishter. So you have to let go of all of this anger. So, but Esav, it says that he didn't do that. He held on to his anger forever. And it also says it about the Givainim. This was a people that lived in Eretz Yisrael, that they were all they wanted to convert, and they did convert, and then it turns out that they weren't very good, and they killed they didn't want to forgive Shaul's kids, they killed them, or whatever, the whole story. But the point is, what does it say about the Givainim? That they did not want to forgive the children of Shaul, and there was nothing that was able to be done to have them calm down, and they did things that were bad, even after the fact. So therefore, the pasuk says, so they were kicked out of the Yidden. They were never allowed to become Yidden because they have this trait within them that's not a positive trait. That's not how Yidden function. What's the way that Yidden do things? It should be difficult to anger you. You should be in control of your anger. And it should be easy to appease you. In other words, your objective is not to be in a state of anger and to pass that on. Your objective is that you shouldn't get offended, you shouldn't get bothered, you should let it slide off you. Don't be such a yesh, as they say. But if it does bother you, then be quick to forgive. It's not your cheshbon to hold onto things. The Eibishter will take care of whatever has to be taken care of. 1 second, yeah.
One is, let's say that you know that you did things to people and you don't remember like specific things. Like you're just meant to ask you and you're feeling for anything everything to you.
If you don't remember, then yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Meaning because it is sincere. What people like to do is they like to not specify. It's an easy, safe way to ask forgiveness. So they say, if I ever did anything to you, then please forgive me, right? Because now you feel very good about yourself. To actually say that I was a shmendenik and I went and I stole your milk from the whatever, I'm using as an example. So that's hard. People don't like doing that. That's a much harder thing to do. You have to have character development for that. So therefore, it's much easier to just be in the lufted, in the ear, and to just throw things out there. So, but if you don't know and you're being sincere, you're saying, look, I think I did something to you. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was a long time ago. I just remember that I went home thinking that I offended you, and I apologize for whatever it was. I didn't obviously something along those lines. So that's okay because it's sincere. Yeah.
If someone asks you, oh, do you forgive me? And you say, you're thinking like, do I actually forgive them? You can't just lie and say, it's not that it's a thing to know. It has to be sincere.
So that is true. Now the thing is like this: when a person comes to you, they're not saying, "Do you forgive me?" They're going to explain what they did wrong. They're going to say why they didn't mean it or why they are sorry or whatever. So at that point, I mean, and even for yourself, you should think to yourself all the time. They have all these studies that come out now about stress and pressure and everything that it affects your heart and your this and your that. Mamish, your health, everything is affected. So you have to think to yourself like this: if someone's this person offended me, let's say you know about it, even you had in mind that you were angry, and you tell yourself that, am I comfortable with letting that off of me, with letting that go? And you should be in a state that if it's a few days later, you shouldn't hold on to it for that long. If it's a few days later and the guy really comes to you and he really means it, you should be able to forgive him. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be safe in the future. Meaning, you could do what's called in Hebrew, you say kavdeu b'chashdeu. Kavdeu means you could give him covet, you can give him respect, you could, but chashdeu, you should be choishish that you should be, aware that there's a possibility you will get hurt, so you want to stay away. That's okay. Doesn't have to be a full forgiveness. You're now going to be best buds like you were before. Maybe you feel that you can't come back from this. But forgiveness you should be able to do, to let it go and to say, I have nothing against you. The Eibishter has a separate cheshbon. I have nothing against you. I forgive you. I understand. It's not, this is, it's a hard to better view, whatever. It's a very good trait to have because it teaches us to be more understanding of other people and to be more understanding of ourselves because no one's perfect. Yeah.
Sorry, I asked for forgiveness, right? I said I come back in 2 days.
Well, again, the Alter Rebbe says the best way is to do it miyad. But if the miyad is going to be like you mentioned, it's not going to be sincere. So then you can tell them, sure, I appreciate you coming over to me. I appreciate you asking me. It's a little raw right now. Come back to me in a few days if you don't mind. I want to be able, I want to let it sink in. That's fine. That's fair. If it's done sincerely. One second. I just want to,
Say that maybe I'll consume your meat thing.
Say again?
But I'll be able to, I'll agree for, the communication that you forgive me for things that.
So to make a transfer type of thing?
It's false. No, not like a deal. Like, you're not. No, why?
So, right. So
And I'm not gonna forgive you because I'm not gonna.
no, so you have to think to yourself how you're wording it and why you're wording it that way. In other words, if you're asking for forgiveness, why is there a condition attached? You're recognizing you did something wrong. Now, what you could say is, look, we both did things that were not good to each other. In the heat of the moment, I offended you, you offended me. Let's just see if we can work past that episode. Maybe I can forgive you, you can forgive me, we can start again. If you word it that way, you could. But if you say that can I ask you for forgiveness on condition that you forgive me? It's not entirely sincere, even though you are kind of saying, look, I want to correct it. And I think the way to correct it is that both of us meet in the middle. So you have to figure out how you're wording it. Yeah, Mayor, I want to try to move along though. Yeah.
That's pretty good forgive someone, because you're like, well, let's you know the person's just gonna like do it again the next day or the next year or like that. Like, why should I forgive someone if you just know they're gonna do it again, if they're just asking for forgiveness just to do it?
So it's a good question. It's a very good question. So I'll have two answers for you. Number one.
But that's what most people are gonna bear. They're gonna ask for forgiveness. I think people will do the same exact thing.
So I have two answers to that. Number one, Hashem says the same thing. Every morning we ask for forgiveness in Shemoneh Esrei. In the afternoon we ask for forgiveness in Shemoneh Esrei. At night we do Ma'ariv, and before we go to sleep, we're asking for forgiveness the whole time. We keep on offending Hashem again and again. We want Him to forgive us again and again, but Hashem is the Eibishter and we're not. So that's true. If you know the guy will do it again, you could forgive him for the past, and you could cut yourself off and say, move away from that circle of of whatever if possible. If not, then he has a cheshbon he has to make. Meaning, it's you have to remember there's always a shkacha pratis. When something happens to you, it was supposed to happen to you. This person was the messenger, and he doesn't have to be the messenger. It's his choice, so it's not a good thing. But that's the way it is. So it should, okay. But let's move along. I want to, 1 second. Should you forgive them? I don't have a perfect answer for that. I think your forgiveness has nothing to do with the future. You know they'll do it again, so you have to figure out how to remove yourself from the danger. But to forgive them on the past, I think it's still possible to some degree. Maybe not, you won't go back to the way it was before, but yeah, I want to be able to move along though. Yeah. Okay, let's go further. Okay, you got a question also? Okay, let's go. So now, someone said about saying something wrong about someone. So there's two types of saying bad things about someone. There's Lashon Hara and there's Motzi Shemra. What's the difference? Lashon Hara is true. When you say something, now all the halachas of it, you can look in the Rambam and other places where it discusses it. Like, for example, if I go to someone who I know really doesn't like a person sitting in the front desk, and I say, do you know this guy is such a good guy, right? And what's going to happen? That person's going to get more, he's going to say, what? Are you kidding me? He's the biggest scoundrel, whatever. So you created a situation where this happened. So that's also Lashon Hara. So there's a lot of halachas about how it works. But Lashon Hara would be when you say something that's the truth about someone, it's just not positive, or it's going to bring to a negative outcome. As opposed to Motzi Shemra is made up. It's a lie. It's not true. Okay? So there's two types of things that you could say wrong. 1 second. Now, 1 second. Now, so in these cases, even if it is true, right, you still have to ask for forgiveness in this case as well. It's all part of the same thing. Now, the only thing would be is, let's say I go to a group of you guys and I say, I have to tell you about the guy that just went outside to the bathroom, and I say something about him that's really not positive. And everyone in the room says, are you kidding me? We know him. It's not true. He's a good guy. Don't drei a cup. It's all made up. and no one believes me when I said this negative thing. So then I don't have to correct anything with that person because no one believed it. It fell on the floor. But I do have to do tshuva between me and the Eibishter. Yeah, there's two different issues here. There's an issue that you have between you and the Eibishter, it's an Aveda, and then you have how you hurt a person. But if you didn't hurt the person because no one believed you anyways, and you're a person that they don't trust or whatever it is, so you don't have to ask forgiveness from that person, but you do have to ask forgiveness from the Eibishter because it wasn't a good thing. Okay, let's go further. Yeah, we're moving a little bit further. Let's say a person comes to you, someone was asking this before, Mendel, I believe, someone comes to you and he asks you, he wants forgiveness. The halacha is you should forgive them with a full heart, completely, and your nefesh chafetza means you should desire to forgive them. Even if they bothered you and they pained you a lot, you shouldn't do nekama, and you shouldn't do a netira, right? You know the difference between the two. Yeah, nakama is if someone says, can I borrow something? And you say, no, I'm not giving it to you because you didn't give it to me yesterday. That's nakama. And netira would be where you guard the anger, is that if someone didn't want to lend you something and they come to you the next day and they say, can I borrow it? You say, yes, you can, not like you did yesterday. That means that you held the hate in your heart. So you guarded it. So that's also not a good thing. So you shouldn't do either of those. Here you have a midas chassidus. It's not easy to do this, but if the person who offended you doesn't come themselves to you, yesh loy la'ish ha'aluf, a humble person should find it with it themselves. To arrange themselves in front of this person who needs to ask for forgiveness, to arrange the circumstances that they should ask for forgiveness. And someone who themselves won't allow the hate to dissipate, to go away on Yom Kippur, ain't tefillah nishmas chas v'shalom. Unfortunately, their own tefillahs won't be answered. But if someone is willing to overlook his own feelings and forgive someone even though it's hard, he himself will be forgiven for all of his avedas as well. Someone said before, what happens if you say machol and it's not in your heart? You're not actually believing, you're not actually forgiving someone. So that doesn't work. It has to be sincere. And also the other way around. If in a person's heart, they forgive someone, but they don't actually say it, so it does work. It's all about what's in a person's heart. It's not about what they say necessarily, although verbalizing the forgiveness is important, but actually in your heart is more important. Now, asking for forgiveness has to be bedibur. You actually have to verbalize it like vidoy. You can't think to yourself, to the Eibishter, what you did. You actually have to say the words. And it's not because the Eibishter needs to hear the words, it's because we need to say it. It's much harder to say something than to think it. Yeah, if you want to think, I ask Hashem for forgiveness, very easy to do that. But to actually say, I did something, as we'll see later when we get to the al-chetz, of how that works. Now, another thing like this, if a person knows that unfortunately they did an aveda in one particular area, lav dafka between a person, but between them and the Eibishter, they know they had a challenge in one particular area, let's just say. Let's say, for example, they didn't show respect or honor to a person. So besides the person who they offended, they have a trait within themselves that they need to work on. And therefore, when it comes to, let's say, the al-chetz or things like that, or how to fix it, they have to have in mind that these are things that are in this kav, in this section. So if someone has an interpersonal issue and it comes from a certain trait, they have to think that besides for asking forgiveness, how are they going to correct that for next year? How are they actually going to fix it and make that part of them better? Just like anything else. In Chabad, we do not promote fasting as a form of tshuva in general, besides for between people, which obviously doesn't make sense. But even between a person and the Eibishter, fasting is not promoted. It's not a good thing. We don't like it. It makes people weaker. When people are weaker, the Yitzhar is stronger. So it's not a good thing. Those days, as they say, are over. So we try to give tzedakah instead. That would be the best way to do it. And there's different ways how to do this. We'll see soon different Avedas. But let's say, for example, one idea would be what's called Hesach Hadas. Sometimes when you think about the Aveda that you did, it just causes it to become a stronger desire for you. So that's not a good thing. Number two, something called Zeir Shal Mitzvah, which is that you should schwitz it out because of the mitzvah, which means to exert your effort in particular mitzvahs is helpful to bring you tshuva. And the main thing is that you have kavanah. You actually say, I'm not going to be doing this aveda anymore. I'm moving away from it, and instead I'm going to do good things, and I'm going to increase in more good things to make sure that I don't fall in that area, again, yes. We'll see in a second. So there's two different things. If you can't get in touch with the person, we said, I mean, it depends what it means by that. But one thing is for sure, you could correct within yourself that trait that you could work on. If the person's not around, what are you going to do? Yeah, you don't have to go to the middle of shul and bang on the shul and tell everyone who didn't know before that you did avedos and that it's not good for it's a chil Hashem basically. We don't like to do that, so it's not a good thing to do that either. But you have to do real tshuva to yourself and think about why that happened. Why was it that you offended someone and you don't even know who it was? Let's say what within you is a character that needs to be corrected that brought you to that matzah. Fine, Sif Hey, Mary, you have a question? Okay, wait till you guys that. Sif Hey. What would be similar to what you just asked? What happens if the person who you offended, Pashat Chas V'Shalom, died for whatever reason it was? So what do you do then? So the halacha is like this. Maybe asara anashim. By the way, there was many people who had trouble with having children. The Rebbe there was a few different answers, but one of them was, did you offend anyone when you were dating? In other words, sometimes people they date and it doesn't work out, right? But it could be that it's done in a positive way, that no one's offended and it's good. But it could also be that you offended someone in that area. Maybe someone thought something different than you. So the Rebbe would tell people that if you offended someone, you should ask for forgiveness, and that would help. What? It is awkward, and not always is it good for you to do it directly yourself. That's true. So you have to, again, that's the details of how it's going to be done. But nevertheless, if in a particular area a person is having an issue, it's possible that in that particular area something needs to be corrected. So if in a home someone's having an issue, they're having children, so it's possible in building a home they offended someone, and the Rebbe would say to ask them for forgiveness. So you see, it's not only about Kippur asking for forgiveness. It has to do with the pagam that could unfortunately sometimes happen. Okay, moving along. Sifei. What happens if the person passes away? So now you can ask them for forgiveness. So it's a very serious thing. What do you do? Maybe asara anashim, you have to bring a group of a minyan, or ma'amidam al kivra, and you have to stand together by the caver of this person, by the grave of this person. Well, you have to say, Chatasi Yisrael, I didn't have Eira to the Eibishter, Ulaza Ish, and to this person, Pliny, whoever it was. Chatasi that I did something wrong. And you have to either say what it is. I'm not sure exactly how it would work. And the other 10 people will answer like we do, similar to Erev Rosh Hashanah. Well, they'll say macholach, 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 and v'yesh leilech yachlef. And they should even go. He should go barefoot, meaning it should be a very serious thing. Gam yesh lefaret esachet im ein bizayin ameis. And also he should say what he did if it's not going to be an embarrassment to the person. Sometimes, like we mentioned, you can embarrass more. But this nukud does like nisker b'shulchan aruch habein. The Alter Rebbe doesn't mention that last thing. Now, I just want to go through this quicker because it's not so whatever. But let's say the person is buried far away. So here it wasn't so far. Nowadays it's not that far, but in those days it would have been a couple of miles or whatever it is. So the halach is he doesn't have to go himself. You could send a shliach. And the shliach will take 10 people. And he'll go to the caver. And he'll say, I am a shliach of this person, and he said in public that he sent me to ask for forgiveness of what he did. But what would happen if the offense happened after the person passed away? So it's not that you offended someone and then they passed away. The offense was after the person passed away, you spoke negatively about them, chas v'shalom, or something like that. So then, you don't have to go to the caver. You can ask for forgiveness in that area where you may have done this unfortunate thing. Excuse me. Now, let's say you said something about his character, which possibly wasn't even true, but you said something negative. So you have to do tshuva because you were over on a dative, on a something that the kadmainim, people of old, of Amol, they accepted that this is that you're not allowed to say bad things about someone who passed away. So if a person did that, unfortunately, they have to do tshuva for that as well. But it's not for the person who they offended. It's more about the truth of it, of what they have to do. Yeah, fine. Mitzvah, yeah. Sivav. So we're moving along now. Mitzvah akaladam litbar. That's atzmai berev Yom Kippurim. A person has to go to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur. Now, how does it go to the? How does that work for Rabbeinu Kasav Noyegin Lipo? The Alter Rebbe says Noyegin. It's a minig. It doesn't say that it's a mitzvah too. Okay, same thing. Number one, why do we do this? Number one, l'tahir mitumas keri. Number one is we want to have a tara. Any aveda, any tumah that a person has, they want to be cleansed, clean before Yom Kippur, like it says in the Torah. And va'oid mishum tshuva. There's also something else that the mikvah is an idea of tshuva, as we know. Al pi chassidus, it's moshe tara. It's something different. Kamoi, for example, Gershon is Gayer Tzadok Tefillah, just like a Ger who's going to convert, he has to go to the mikvah. It's not because of a Tumas Keri, it's because it's an idea of tshuva, of returning, of coming back to the Eibishter. Or the Fizeh, Yesh Lipa Gimel Pa'amim. Yeah, because it's an idea of tshuva, so therefore it's a minig that people have, they table at least 3 times. Our minig generally is we try to table 9 times if you could, but there's all different numbers as we'll see when we get to Shabbos. But for Yom Kippur, there seems to be an idea to be table 3 times. Doesn't mean 3 separate times. It means to go down in the water 3 times, at least. Now, V'lachein, he says, therefore, gam na'arim upsulei. So therefore, it's not only for, let's say, married people, because it has to do with tshuva. So technically, it could even be for children, for young girls, shehem b'nei mitzvah, which are also mechuyev and mitzvahs. Yesh lam nitba. They should also go to the they should also go to the mikvah to be toivel, according to the Kitzur. You also have to be careful not to have a chatzitza, which means, like we said when we were learning in the Gemara and Sukkah, very good. Now you're not allowed to have anything in between you and the water. So it's not. I don't know how strict we are about this to the fullest degree of what would be considered, standard types of getting rid of chatzitzes. But to some degree, you have to make sure that you don't have anything that's in the way. Be'iker zman hatfila. When is the main time on Erev Yom Kippur to go to the mikvah is really the achar chatzos. In other words, we go in the morning once, yeah? The morning is not part of Yom Kippur necessarily. The morning is just the regular morning that you go to the mikvah. And it happens to be, it's a special day, so you want to make sure to go. But it's not mitzad Yom Kippur. The real Yom Kippur mikvah is really after chatzos. And what does the Alter Rebbe write? The Alter Rebbe writes that our minig is that we go to the mikvah before mincha, and we also do malchus. We'll get to that later, but you do that before mincha. And some people have a minig that they go to the mikvah after sudas hamafseka. So for us, what ends up happening is we go 3 times, basically, if possible. Once in the morning, like every other day, but especially in a special day. Number 2 before mincha, and then number 3 after the sudas hamafsekas, which is much closer to Yom Kippur. However, that works in your particular community, if it's possible, whatever. Okay, so the rest of the sif is talking about a lady going to the mikvah, which really the Alter Rebbe says is not so noyig nowadays that they go special for Yom Kippur. So it's not so and it's not so relevant to us. So we'll skip that part. And then it goes to an oval. Okay, we'll skip that part too. That just talks about when they can get up from their avelos and when they can wash themselves, etc. So we'll go to Siv Zayin. This is okay. So this took me time to figure out exactly how this works over the years, but I think we have it like this: that there's different times that you there's different times that you light different candles. Yeah, we know there's a lot of candles in Yom Kippur. So what are the candles that we're lighting? So let's see how this works like this. Number 1, Siv Zayin. Number 1, their minig is that every person who has a household, they should light a candle for them and their home. Now, why do they do that? Because Moshe Rabbeinu came down with the luchos on Yom Kippur. And the Torah is a candle. So we light a candle. Now, that is 1 per house. So that's 1 candle. Another candle. Another one a person will light is for a person, God forbid, if they lost any of their parents or both, they'll light a candle as well. As a kapara. Says in Poskim that neshamas also need a kapara, whatever. But then the minig is like this: 1 of these candles you light in your house. And that should stay lit till after Yom Kippur, till Havdalah. And you do Havdalah on that candle. Now, this is an interesting thing. I don't know if we'll get all the way to the end of what we were going to talk about. You don't do Havdalah on a regular candle. Mitzvah Shabbos, we light a candle and you do Havdalah on the candle. Why? Because fire was created in Mitzvah Shabbos. That's when Adam and Rishon first created fire. Right? How do we know that? Because Friday he was born. Shabbos he can't make fire. So Mitzvah Shabbos is the first time that he lit a candle. So we light a candle Mitzvah Shabbos and you make a bracha. Yom Kippur is not a Mitzvah Shabbos thing. So why are you making Havdalah with a candle? So the only way you make Havdalah with a candle is called a Ner Sheshavas. That because the whole Yom Kippur you weren't allowed to light a fire just like Shabbos, so we symbolize that by using a fire after Yom Tif, but it has to be from something that shows us that you dafka were not allowed to light a candle on Yom Tov. So you have a candle that was lit from before to bring out that point that you weren't allowed to light a candle on Yom Tov. Okay, so that candle that you leave in your house, that's what you make Havdalah on. And you take another candle, and if you don't have a candle that was lit from before, you don't make a bracha on candles. Yeah, I guess this year, think about it. You're going to do it on Thursday night, and then 2 nights later, you're going to do it again. You don't make a bracha on the candle if you don't have one that was there from before. Okay, so number one, you leave one in the house. Number two, and another one you bring to shul. Okay, I'll explain in a second what this means in the bottom. You also have to be careful if you ever go to any of these big stores and they have a lot of candles. Yeah, so if you look at those candles, they're almost always they call them. No. They call them what's the word? I forget. Like a ritual candle, if that makes sense. So in other words, it's a goyish candle. Some of them have pictures on them that are not kosher in terms of Yiddishkeit, things like that. A lot of these candles, for sure, it used to be that it was made by cloisters would do it for like fundraisers and things like that. They would make these tall candles. It was so you have to be careful when you buy the candles. You're not buying it from a place of Avodah Zarah. Okay, so you have to make sure you're buying a kosher one. Which is why the kosher beeswax is, and it costs you $8 a little thing. And if you buy the non one for $8, you can get 10 of them. But okay, as I get this, that's how there's a kosher tax. But if you're looking on the bottom where it says Vav, Vav. So over there it says like this. It says Venikra alebedikelich. It ends up being like this: that the one that you're going to leave in shul is called alebedikelich, which means a live candle. Right, and that's one that we said before. Every house does. It's symbolic of Torah. They call ish nasai, every married person. They make for themselves a candle in shul that has to do with their family. So this is in addition to the one that you have in your house. So it comes out that there's 3 candles. What are the 3 candles? Number one, you have what we call a ner tshuva. Ner tshuva was last Shabbos tshuva. People had a candle they would light for tshuva. Anyone could do that? I don't see why not. Maybe everyone does it. I don't know. On Yom Kippur itself, there's 2 candles. There's one you bring to shul, which is a father of a family. I don't believe Bachram light this. And you guys ever lit candles on Yom Kippur? What?
Just for fun.
Just for fun. Okay. So that one is one per family, and then you leave one in your house that you make Havdalah on also after. But even that's only if a person lost any of their parents later. Okay. So that's the cheshbon of how this works out. Make sense? Okay. Now, if you don't have one at home when you make Havdalah, then you don't light another candle for Havdalah. You don't make a bracha on fire unless it's Motzei Shabbos. Okay, moving right along. We'll take a break soon for a few minutes. We'll come back and then we'll see what we want to do. We'll continue this or do Gemara instead. In a few minutes, I said, yeah? So now, there are people that they're very makpid. They don't want their candle to go out in shul. Because this is a candle of lebedik alich. You're lighting this for your family, for Torah. People don't like if their candle gets mixed. Now, even though he says there's no real problem, this is what he says. Now, the Alter Rebbe is not so, I guess you could say, lenient. The Alter Rebbe says, Siman, it's not a good thing if the candle that you lit goes out. And if it does go out, you should relight it on Motzei Yom Kippur. And you should let it burn out. Don't put it out. And you should also accept upon yourself that you're never going to put out the candle that you lit before Yom Kippur. You're never going to put it out. You'll protect it. It should never happen. So the Alter Rebbe is a little bit strict about it, that it's not such a light thing. But nevertheless, even the Kitzur who said that we're not so concerned about it, even he would admit, you shouldn't really allow it to go out. So what do? So his solution was, take the candle and you give it to the Gabbai. Yeah, you give it to the Shamash. And he'll put it somewhere in this big table. You go to 770 in the first room, they used to, I don't know if they still have it set up that way, they probably do. It's filled with candles, hundreds of candles. It's like boiling hot. So maybe they set it up differently to be a little safer. I don't know. But the point is that you think you know where yours is. You put yours down, and someone comes and moves it away, and they have exactly the same candle as you. It's all the same. Their mitzvah, whatever, or Yankels, whatever they call the company. So there's no way for you to know which one was yours, anyways. So over here he says, give it to the shamash. Let him put it down, so you don't know where your candle is. You won't know, and this way it's not an issue. Again, according to Alter Rebbe, it's okay if you know where it is. Just make sure you'll take it after Yom Tov and relight it and make sure it burns itself out. Now, when you go earlier in the day for mincha, that's when you should bring your stuff. that's when you should really bring your machzor and your candles. You should bring it all there if you can. Why? He says you should light it then already. No, I'm sorry. Just light it later before Yom Tov, but bring it earlier. Why? Because everyone knows. When everyone's rushing to get there to shul for Maida, for Kol Nidre, Hasman Bal, everyone is rushed. It's very late. So therefore, bring it earlier. You won't have any issues. You'll be able to do it and everything will be fine. Okay, let me take a quick little poll over here. Hold on a second. Let me just pause this.